স্ট্র্যাটেজি লুম টিমকে।
The final turn she takes start for. Siam, ready?
Good morning and assalamu alaikum everyone. We are Team Strategy Loom from the Department of Economics, East West University, and I am Guljar Ahmed Siam. Our policy paper is titled A Blueprint of Inclusive and Resilient Growth, Trade, trade Diversification, Digital Public Infrastructure, Social Protection, and Climate Security. Sounds a lot, right? But don't worry, at the end you will see really what it's about a simple idea. Bangladesh is graduating from LDC, and we need a strong strategy so that this graduation becomes a launch pad, not a stumbling block. Bangladesh has crossed the graduation threshold with a pretty good numbers. Our gross national income per capita is more than double than the requirements. Our human asset index is above the criteria, and this shows our education and health system is progressing. And even though our environmental and economical vulnerability is still high, but it is lower than the UN threshold. In short, we have done we have done well, but we have done well numerically. But crossing the LDC graduation doesn't mean we have completed the race. It means a start of a new marathon, even more harder. So now we're going to talk about the opportunities and challenges. The opportunities side, graduation boosts our global impression and image in the global world. This opens up the doors for new opportunities like more and better investment, better trade deals, and industrial growth. This means we can finally step away from the old label, aid-dependent country, and be a confident, skill-divided economy. So, let's talk about the challenges. But on the challenge side, things get might bit trickier. Bangladesh received over $10 billion of aid in 2022. After graduation, this type of easy financing will be shrinked. That's a problem to us. Even scarier problems are our ready-made garment exports, which make up over 80% of our basket, may face tariff of 8 to 12% in European markets. That could cost us about $7 to $8 billion annually. So yes, the glass, we can say this is works like a double-edged sword, the LGC graduation. Moving further on, we'll talk about the background and current situation. Our indicator shows our strength and our strength and confidence, but there are higher risks like disaster risk, dependence on the garments, reliance on the aid, and most of all, our unstable macroeconomics indicators. Like the poverty rate in 2022 was 18.7%, but in 2015 it became around 28%. That's a huge difference. So, what is this paper all about? It's about building a comprehensive blueprint of multiple policy which can strengthen our structure. So, with this foundation, now my teammate Rakib Choudhury will present the policy recommendation what we have created. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Mohammad Rakib Choudhury and I will be introducing you to the policies that will help us in the future. So let's start. The first policy is the diversification export beyond garments. As we know that our country, Bangladesh, is heavily reliant on garment sector, which is we get 80% of our export earning from the garments. But after the LDC graduation, Bangladesh will lose some of its preferential trade benefits, like it will face a tariff of 8 to 12%, which could lead to losses of USD 7 to 8 billions annually. which why we need product diversification. If I give you a similar a similar example like Vietnam, which diversified its products in 2005, it diversified its product into electronics. But now, electronics is accumulated up to 40% of its export. So, if we diversify and explore the sectors like electronic, pharmaceuticals, and agro-processing sector, we can prevent the potential loss of 7 to 8 billion in export losses. And diversifying into electronics and agro-processing could add up to 10 to 12 billion in annually in exports by 2030. But we have some weak backward linkages for electronics and pharmaceuticals, but we have to create strong connections. And by rising non-RMG exports by 10%, potentially could contribute an additional 1 to 1.5% growth to our GDP. But we need some major tariff reforms, like we have to remove the para tariff. And let's move on to the next policy, which is the digital public infrastructure. This is very important because only 53% of our adults have financial accounts, which we got to know in a survey of 2023. So we also use the traditional cash-based system, safety nets, where the estimated leakage is so high that it is estimated to be 1% of the GDP. You might ask me, what is leakage? Leakages are the stolen or lost money. So India also faces a problem similar to that, which is high leakage. So they introduced a platform which is JAM system, Jana Dhana Aadhaar Mobile, by which they have saved up to $12 billion annually. So if Bangladesh also introduces a system where all schemes are all together, an online platform where reducing leakage by 50%, Bangladesh could save up to 2 billion annually. And by expanding the digital platform to all schemes can cover an extra amount of 10 to 12 million of people, and also provide shock responsive transfer that can prevent 3 to 5 million people annually from falling back into the poverty during crises. But we have some major problems, like we have lack of outlets, but if we increase the number of outlets, it will be quite beneficial for us. And let's move on to the third policy, which is establishing a unified national social registry. So Bangladesh has over 100 fragmented social safety nets, but the main problem is that it overlaps so many times that it fails to reach the right people, with targeting errors of 30 to 35%. A unified national social registry would bring all programs together in a single system, making it easier to deliver benefits accurately and efficiently. Global studies suggest that in a similar system in Brazil, Bolsa Familia, which implement a strategy like that and reduce extreme poverty by 20%. So if Bangladesh can cut the duplication, they can save up to 1 to 1.5 billion annually, and they can the coverage of the bottom 40% will be increased by 10 to 15%, and link transfer to training could lift 1 to 2 million households out of poverty sustainably. But the main problem we might face is that resistance from the agency running overlapping schemes, because they get benefited from these schemes. And the upfront investment would be 100 to 150 million. And let's move on to the next policy, which is forecast-based financing. So Bangladesh loses 2 to 3 billion of dollars every year due to climate disaster like floods, cyclones, and salinity intrusion. But thanks to our government for providing us shelters and early warnings, the cyclone deaths have been reduced significantly. But we still face urban flooding and saltwater in coastal areas that are growing threats. For example, during cyclone Amphan in 2020, early warnings and shelter saved many lives, and families who received cash and aid beforehand were able to protect their homes and belongings. So study and results shows that anticipatory cash transfer reduces post-disaster losses up to 30%. And so to build resilience, Bangladesh should expand forecast-based financing, strengthen coastal embankments, improve city drainage, and use climate-focused budgeting. These steps saves money, protects the poor, and makes the country stronger against climate change. And for the next part, we are going to connect all the policies. And for that, I would like to call my teammate Faiza Khan on the podium.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum alaikum everyone. I'm Fariza Khan and today I'll show you connection of our two policies. Right now, social protection is fragmented with 114 programs and 150 plus small schemes and 2.77 crore cash transfer beneficiaries, when the beneficiary ratio is only 16.3% and spending of about 2.5 to 3% of GDP leaks through duplication and manual processes. During shocks, support is also slow and uneven. We connect Policy 2, ID link digital public infrastructure, and Policy 3, Unified National Social Strategy. Now, you may ask, conceptual linkage and why? Because together, it avoids duplication and fragmentation like multiple databases, and it can reduce leakage, delays, administrative costs, and it can also enable scaling in crisis times. And finally, it strengthens data integrity and program coherence. To prevent all the delay and leakages, today we present a new idea, a new program, NOBO. India has JAM, Janadhana Aadhaar Mobile. Bangladesh can go further with NOBO, National Access for Benefits and Opportunities. A four pillar system with NID as identity, foundation of trust, and second, mobile as access, apps, SMS, and union digital centers for last mile service and grievance. And thirdly, registry at eligibility, one dynamic list for all programs. And finally, digital finance for seamless payments. With NOBO, we can